How's it going? Yeah, my toes. I haven't seen you right since we're back from New Year's. Give it the New Year's.
I did. Did you? What's that?
So I can't complain. We went away for the first week of break. We went on a cruise. The Caribbean. I know. When people ask, I want to say all the islands. I'm like, I could just say.
Was it like Brad with the COVID and stuff?
So that's why I did the face because the CDC after we got back later on had advised against it. But when we went, actually, mine was pretty diligent about the mask wearing everywhere inside. But, and you had to have the PCR test. And you had to be vaccinated.
How strict it was.
I mean, strict that you had to wear the mask inside everywhere. Yeah, I avoided it. But lots of people have it. Right to school. My one daughter is a teacher, and all teachers, three of the teachers are out with COVID. And they're doing PCR testing at the school, so I enrolled my kids in it, even though they're vaccinated. Just
Which one did you give your kids?
Yeah, they a lot of vaccinated. So my two older ones got COVID, the Omicron. I have a daughter who has asthma.
I predict this year.
So we'll see. But then
Right.
Now they say you could, if you're, I think 12 and older, you can get a booster. Where they were only doing 16 and older. Neither of them can get one yet because they have just had it, so I have to wait. I did my daughter's first shot last week. How did she? She's 10. Oh yeah. Everyone is like 4.5, so she has it. Yeah. She's close. Yeah. I hope we beat Dawn by this year. I think we're gonna live with I think so. COVID, just different strains. Girls, yeah. They love it right now. 16, 13, you're 16. Right. Oh yeah, no. And mine, they all look really good, in terms of that'll be it is, but they just
You're on.
yeah, probably we have a lot of ones like I just yeah.
Yeah, 15 online.
What was your real
Yours is cold.
oh, yeah, we're trying to treat that. That's yeah, that's it.
Here, and it's time to treat yourself. It's horrid. Year by year. So
Yeah,
you're-
exactly.
And your oldest is in elementary.
Yes, she is at, what was it, Timberlake here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, in East Scott.
Yeah, my middle daughter went there. And then we moved out of that district, but yeah, she went there.
So is your Georgia
I think this is, like,
Georgia?
youngest daughter.
I was glad to see, I was glad to see it. My brother went to Georgia, my grandfather went to Georgia. Yeah, so I was telling my brothers this morning, my sister, we were all in the chain, and, my brother-in-law was in Georgia, and, so my brother-in-law, and my sister went to the game.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and, so, I told him this morning, I was like, I can feel granddaddy smiling.
Dan's over Becky and her sister were there with two of the kids. And I had three of my friends from Smyrna were there.
Yeah,
So I have no idea what tickets were running. Was it crazy?
I'll ask Matt, yeah, my brother-in-law, went, yeah, I'm sure they were up there.
She said I was supposed to have to travel north.
Like, I saw that, I was like,
For a
you
second,
just
I
want
was
to
like,
take, I was
we
like,
were in the wrong
okay.
place. I mean,
I
I
was
was
like,
in
"Oh,
a
that's
meeting, I was like, is it maybe, is it just a different spot?
What was the first one?
Yeah, and it's probably the next 5 years are probably already determined.
Yeah, I think they moved
You just
around.
started though, right?
So-
Was
It's
your
like Super
license
Bowl's
yet?
already
No.
determined when
Yeah,
it's
it's
gonna
like
be.
10 weeks now.
I don't know.
Remember last
Sure,
time I
for
was here, it
scheduling,
was like.
I moved in my
Was
thirties,
it
so
last year?
after
I
I
wasn't here
used to be at the
months ago.
beginning.
Yeah,
and
that's
I-
true.
Yeah, I'll let you go
I
first.
had the FMLS process at the same time, so I didn't come to the
Yeah.
meeting. But, so I just had the matches and.
All right, welcome everybody to the team meeting. I have a feeling after a late night last night that we probably have more people viewing in from the comfort of their home than we do in person. So thank you for everybody that showed up in person today. We are gonna let a guest speaker, Michael Chevers, talk to you about our new LIFT program and explain some of the ins and outs of that to get you guys excited about taking advantage of that. Michael, you are up.
All right. Thank you, Sherry, and good morning. And so congratulations to Georgia. So we've got two title holders in Georgia this year with the Braves and
Yes.
and you know, Georgia. So exciting game. Good to see them come back off of that loss in the SEC championship. Well, I'm here this morning just to introduce the LIFT program to everyone at the Market Center. Basically, Gary Keller came out in 2021 with a focus of Keller Williams Market Centers supporting agents and in particular individual agents who don't currently have the support of a team to provide them with lead flow, with training to convert that lead flow, and then leverage and support to help their growing business, right? So as you have more lead flow coming in, you take more clients, you put more under contract, then your business is growing, then leverage becomes more important in the mix of your business structure so that you can continue to do more business and still have time and freedom with your schedule and calendar, which is a lot of a reason why a lot of people get into real estate, right? I'm going to own my own business, I'm going to control my time and my schedule and these kind of things. And what a lot of people find is as their business grows, their time goes away. So leverage in place to support the lead flow, the additional clients, training to take those clients, convert those clients, and then leverage in place to support that growing business. So if you are an individual agent in this office and LIFT program is something that you're interested in, please just reach out to me. We'll go through where you're at, where you want to go, and determine if the LIFT program is the right fit for you. So just wanted to intro the program. Thank you very much, Sherry. Appreciate it. And Michael Cheever, and you can just let me know if that's something that you're interested in.
Thank you,
Thank
Michael. Thank you.
And just to follow up on that, we actually do have a spot for the people who actually are hands-on working with the LIFT program downstairs. And so you can have face-to-face time with them and schedule that whenever you want. And they are in our office on a regular basis. So it's not like somebody in virtual world. We actually have them physically in our office. Who out there can tell me something good other than we know that Georgia won last night, but anything else good happening that somebody wants to share with us? Anybody? Anybody at home? I was gonna say last night kind of takes the cake though, doesn't it? Because everybody stay up and watch it till the very end and actually,
I did not.
you did not.
No, it's
I
possible.
was telling Noel downstairs, like, even though the game was over, it took me a good hour just to like,
Oh, really?
because I like watching all the after stuff and, you know, the stories and everything, so it took me, it was probably 1:30 before I finally got to bed. Today we have Courtney Newton as our guest speaker, and she will be here shortly, but in the meantime, let's hear from our partners. Carrie, are
Good
you
morning.
online with us?
Hi, I'm here. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you calling in from Oconee?
Yes, so I'm at the ALC retreat. I just wanted to come on and say hello at my beautiful new home. No, I'm kidding. My beautiful new home at the Ritz-Carlton. But no, I just wanted to say good morning to you guys. And I'm heading back here in just a couple of hours. And I'm Carrie with Thomas and Brown. If we have not gotten to meet, we have offices in Woodstock, East Cobb, Galleria, Alpharetta, Blue Ridge, Buckhead, and Gwinnett. So we're all over for you guys. And be sure and follow us on social media because we always do a lot of fun giveaways and contests. And I just sent out a new TV Insiders email to everyone last week that we're going to be doing once a month. I promise we will not bombard you guys with emails, but we have so many CE classes that we offer, and we can do them, you know, for your team too. It doesn't just have to be an office. Or, you know, like the entire office. And so I wanted to let you guys know about those on our website. And we look forward to seeing y'all soon in person.
Thank you, Carrie. So,
Thanks.
do we have anybody with Silverton out there in TV land that would like to say something? Silverton? All right, we'll give them another second. Maybe they're getting their coffee. All right, so what do we have next coming up? We have got some upcoming classes coming up. So we have a CE Mortgage Class 101. It's February 10th. Oh, good. It's going to be here. Yay. Reed Clark is sponsoring it. That will be awesome. It's also via Zoom. So go onto our training calendar because there is a Zoom link for that. All of our newly licensed agents, please take this class. You learn so much in these Mortgage 101 classes and just about the different loan programs and everything. All right, next one. All right, so then we have real estate conversations and lead gen every Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 8:30 a.m. led by authoring. So guys, our newer agents and our agents who kind of trying to have a hard time getting their January kick started. If you need a good kick in the butt, please start showing up for that and working your database and lead generating. And then we have Command Your Campaign Ads. It's a video Zoom call. Kevin Jackson, guys. If you've not sat in on one of Kevin's classes, he is awesome. He knows his command stuff inside and out.
Yeah,
That was yesterday?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
Oh, was it?
Here, yes.
Okay.
We go back.
Oh, so we have group coaching. We have pre-listing packets, January the 12th at 11 to 12 p.m. in the lead gen room with authoring. So that's tomorrow, right? Tomorrow's the 12th. Okay, perfect. That's tomorrow. If you don't have your listing presentation put together, please show up for that and get that coordinated. And then we have a command happy hour, again, hosted by Kevin Jackson. And it's going to be this Thursday from 5 to 6 p.m. And guys, you can sit at home, pour yourself your favorite cocktail, and then ask Kevin any command questions that you may have. And then we've got Contract Mastermind this Thursday. So Michelle and I will be hosting our Contract Mastermind. We do this once a month and we try to make it the second Thursday of the month. It's an hour long, it's in person or you can log into it. And we just basically pick a contract issue that we kind of top of mind for that month or issues that we're seeing. And what we are going to focus on is investor contracts, how they need to look, what might be a little bit different for those, not how to write one, but just how it needs to be signed off on correctly, and just kind of some nuances to look for in the investor type contracts. So join us this Thursday from 11 to 12, and it'll be up here in the training room. Command Your Commissions, taught by Carrie Walters, is going to be next week on the 19th. And that'll be in the group coaching session. Carrie is awesome, guys. She's a great facilitator. And then save the date, diversity, inclusion, lunch and learn, Thursday, January 20th at 11:30. And it'll be up here, correct? It'll be up here in the training room. And then here is our Ignite, when does Ignite start?
January 24th.
January the 24th?
Yeah.
All right, Ignite starts. So guys, if you are newly licensed and you have not taken your post-license class, please, please, please jump in on this. I don't care if you just got your license. I highly recommend agents who were just licensed to jump right into post. You don't need to try to work, you don't need to wait and get a couple of clients. Post license is going to get you there. So please jump into Ignite. Now I've got a laundry list in my room on the dry erase board of licensed agents who've been licensed for a year or less and have not had post yet. Please, please, please get into that. And I just, this past month, we had two agents licensed go inactive because they had not completed their post license within that first year. Please don't let that happen to you because it does cost you extra money to reactivate your license. So please be mindful and jump into that. Zoom career day, what is this? Good stuff. January 13th, just check the calendar.
This is the K-Score, the new real estate school television rolling out. If you have questions about that, just email myself or Michelle.
Yes, perfect. Or if you've got friends that are thinking about being in real estate, guys, definitely look into that. Start building those downlines. For lessons learned today, I don't really have anything that particular I wanted to talk about other than all week long, ever since the last CE class, with the contract changes, I have been getting phone calls about the changing of our brokerage agreement. And I've been fielding those calls all week. I guess the thing I want to say most about the change is it's really not a change, to be honest. The way the buyer, and it's about the commission, how the commission section is spelled out in the buyer brokerage agreement. In your previous buyer brokerage agreement, it had for you to put what that buyer agent was going, what your buyer client would pay you in commissions, whether it was a flat amount or a percentage or other. And then on the right-hand side of that buyer brokerage agreement, it had, if seller does not pay, then buyer will pay the difference. That's the part that was removed. That section about how much your buyer is going to pay you, that stayed the same. They just removed the paragraph that said if seller does not pay. So it really has not changed, and it really has not changed the way you should be doing business. Now, if you were the agent that always put on that box, check buyer not responsible for the difference, well then yes, you do need to have a conversation. Doesn't mean you have to change the way you're going to do things. Just put zeros over here on this side. When it says percentage, put zero. It's saying the same thing, right? Because you're not, in both situations, you're not requiring your buyer to pay you any commissions. So it's not really changing the way you do business. The only thing I need for you guys to keep in mind, and this is so very important, is yes, your scripts do need to change when you're talking about your buyer brokerage agreement. You cannot insinuate that the seller pays your commission. That needs to go away. Georgia is one of the few states where it became customary for these sellers to even pay our commissions. In most other states, that's not the case. The seller pays their agent the commission, the buyer paid their agent the commission. It's just, it became customary at some point in Georgia that the seller also paid the buyer's commission. So actually Georgia's just actually catching up with the rest of the country when it comes to that. So just remove that script from your vocabulary, from your presentation, that seller will pay my commission, okay? You can explain how it works, but just don't say that just don't put in your script that you don't have to pay any of my commissions or I work for you for free, because that's not the case. And that's not the way your buyer brokerage agreement reads. If you elect, or if you choose to keep doing business as you have done in the past, where you put that the buyer was not responsible for your commissions, please know that I've heard through the grapevine that some new construction subdivisions, the builder is not paying buyer agent commissions. So just keep that in mind, that you could be working for free in situations like that. And then also keep in mind, if you put in the past, if you put that the buyer should not pay your extra but the seller doesn't pay, or if you just choose now to opt out and make that an NA section or a 0 section, if your buyer goes behind your back and tries to terminate and go buy a house as you've shown them, you have no grounds to follow up and pursue your commissions on that, because you made it very clear to your buyer brokerage that that buyer is not responsible for paying you any commissions. So please keep that in mind, because I have a good agent right before the holidays. Unfortunately, she had that the buyer was responsible for paying her commissions. So now we're able to pursue it and try to get some commissions for her. But if she put 0 there or NA there, or the buyer's not responsible for paying any difference if the seller doesn't pay, we would not have had a leg to stand on. So please, please, please keep that in mind when you're talking about that. And guys, every now and then, we just don't sell yourself short. You're worth every penny that you earn. So, any questions about that before we move on to our main topic and our guest speaker?
So I just have a question to clarify. So for example, when I have been putting 3% on the
Uh-huh.
left side, I would still put that because if that's what I want my commission to be regardless of. what it's
Regardless of
on.
who pays it.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Perfect.
Love that, yes. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's perfect. Love it. Any questions from anybody in TV land about that? Going once? Twice? All right. It is my honor and my privilege to introduce Miss Courtney Newton. You have about, how many people online? You have 30 people online.
Look, I have three fabulous folks here. I get it. I am the after party to the Georgia game last night. I am fully aware of where I am in this world, because if this was the day after the Braves had won the World Series, I assure you, I also would have probably not made it to this class. So, all right. So I am basically talking about my 9 real estate predictions for 2022. And I've done this. This is my 20th year in real estate. And there's certain things that I absolutely know without a fact always works, and that's lead generation. I will start with that. That's an easy prediction. So if I give you a bonus one, that's it. Lead generation and speaking to your clients and letting them know where and what is going on in the market will never fail you. Now, I also want to preface all these real estate predictions with, I actually had Alabama winning the game yesterday. So take these predictions with a grain of salt and a shot of tequila. So, all right. So y'all have the handout here. So, and I've got my notes on my phone. So let's start with basically the first one. Pretty houses will still sell at a pretty price. I'm a firm believer that there will be a market for pretty houses, and we know those listings, guys, when we walk in them and you are in a position that you are basically, you're like, gosh, I want this listing, right? You've been in those houses with buyers and they're like, this is perfect, right? We know those houses, and you walk in and it's like no detail is left, untouched. They 100% have just given it their all. They've staged it. They've done all that stuff. And that's where having those conversations with buyers and sellers, that guys, we're going to walk in some houses as a buyer that you're going to go, this is a nice house. I could make it what I want it to be. Or you're going to walk in a house and you're going to go, this is like Chip and Joanna Gaines just walked out the door right before we got here. And that's when you have to explain strategy. That house is going to have multiple offers. The first house, it's probably been on the market for a normal amount of business days. Whereas the second house probably went on a Thursday and there's a showing before you and there was a showing right after you, and you've got to make a decision. So it's kind of understanding that there's going to be 2 markets right now that's happening in our real estate world. Number 2, scripts will matter more than ever. You better get good at listening and knowing how to bring folks from pleasure to pain. Because right now, if I'm a seller, it has been the Georgia game last night, confetti falling from the sky. We're getting interceptions. We're getting scoops and scores. It's just a great day. That is maybe not going to be the same story or headline, right? Because like if we think back last year, Alabama, it was a different headline than it is this year. And that's the way you have to put it, is we're going to have to be very good at helping clients navigate through our language on what it is that's really important to them. Because if you sit down with that seller that says, I want the most money I can get and I'm not going to sell unless I get some ridiculous, Bob down the street got $750. I know my house is better than Bob's. I want $850. And right when you roll your eyes, we've been with those sellers and you're just like, well, I would like whatever it is you're on. And like, that's not going to happen anymore. It's you've got to be able to conversate through it, that what's important to them. Is it about getting the most money? Because if the market declines another 2% or just stabilizes, or maybe you have more competition and you have to do more upgrades, in the next 6 to 12 months, is that really the most money for them? So it's being able to work through that pain of, you might have to rip out this 8, 9-year-old kitchen in another year or two. If you wait, well, that's $30,000. That's not more money, right? So you've got to figure out what is their motivation. Is it to be, is it to be done and moved during the school year? Well, then maybe we go on now and we tell whatever buyer, if we can't move until the end of May, till school's out. If I'm a buyer, it's the thing of, is it about finding the exact perfect house, or is it about finding the most perfectly imperfect house, right? The right things are wrong with it. Because the pretty houses, you may have to bid up, and the pretty houses you may not even get a chance to get them. So that's where you really have to understand, because most people live in pleasure, right? Most people, most folks, I'm gonna use this Georgia game till it hurts. Most folks that walked into Indianapolis last night from Athens and sat down and watched their TV last night, believed Georgia was going to win. They lived in pleasure. But there was only 2 results last night. Either way, they were crying. They were either going to win or they were going to lose, but they were crying. So you've got to move them through that. That's our job, is to take the emotion out of it for them, because it is emotional. I moved this time last year. It nearly broke me. I said every real estate agent every 7 years should be forced to move out of their house. The real estate commission, forget continuing ed, should just simply make us have to move, period. Because it's a totally different animal. So understanding scripts and getting really good. So I challenge everybody to get a script partner, get somebody that you can sit down and work through scripts and really pay attention to what your sellers and buyers are saying back to you, and understand, how can I get my point to you that here's what needs to happen, okay? Number 3, feedback will matter more than ever. And the reason I say that is, I need to know as a listing agent what it was that you as a professional thought of my home. It's like getting a second opinion, right? And I will say, you need to be able to give feedback. Like these agents that don't respond to the showing time feedback request, or don't respond to a callback or a text, shame on you, because you're going to be in that boat that you're going to need feedback on your listing. Be a cooperative agent. Doesn't necessarily mean you're on the other side of the transaction. Be honest. And I look at this because I know it's a lot of Keller Williams agents. Be honest and tell other agents your opinion. But more importantly, the reason to get feedback and ask feedback is, if I'm working with an agent that's maybe not been in a different market, maybe they've only really ever known a seller's market, they're a 3-year agent, they only know a seller's market, they may not be able to articulate through scripts how to get their buyer to get past the fact that the carpet is this. When I know my seller might replace the carpet, or might give a flooring allowance, or might just take some money off the price. I want to be able to script with that agent to say to them, if they say, hey, the carpet's an issue, I can say, well, that's great. Tell you what, if that's the only thing they've got a problem with, put it in writing, send it over. You never know what my seller might say. I don't know for sure that they'll do anything, but it's certainly worth asking the question. Because like on my team, we challenge, it's all about asking the question. Like we saw, we've got a listing coming up, and one of the gals said, she goes, well, it doesn't have enough garages. I said, ask the question anyway. It's everything else that he wants. It just doesn't have enough garages. Ask the question. We're all about asking the question. I can tell you last year, I lost $1 million deal because I didn't let my client know the listing. I didn't know him and his wife were thinking of upgrading in their neighborhood. Lost $1 million deal. He ended up working with the neighborhood agent. It was an agent listing in this office. So I am always asking the question, okay? And the other reason is for downline, right? So if this is an agent that's like, man, you helped me put this deal together. There are agents that I get profit share checks from because we had a conversation around feedback. I will tell you, the person that was my sponsor 20 years ago called me for feedback. And I went in her downline because she was the only person I knew. And I said, hey, you're with that Keller company. I asked her a couple of questions. And then when it was time to actually sign it, I put Diana Fallon down. And she's retired on a beach somewhere, I guess. All right, number 4. Pendings will matter more than past sales. So think of it this way. We're watching the weather report, right? And if I go back a month ago, it was beautiful, right, guys? Remember, it was like 65 and 70, and we're sitting outside. And it's like, oh, this is great. Fast forward a month later, it's very, I mean, it's frigid outside, like, I mean, cold. I'm walking my daughter into school and she's like, brr. I was like, yeah, I know it's cold. You ain't never felt cold. It's all right, honey. So understanding that the pendings are a more clear idea of what's really happening in the market.
Yeah.
So if 6 months ago, because I can go in on an appraisal, I go 6 months back, a year back if I need to. The appraiser's gonna go 6 months back, but the market, I'm looking in the last 30 to 45 days to truly understand. So I'm calling, when I'm doing a pricing analysis, I am calling the pendings and going, hey, how many offers did you have? Because that's telling me that there's more buyers in the marketplace. So then when I sit down with that seller, I actually have different information than the previous agent that maybe they interviewed or is going to interview. Previous agent like, oh, I see this one's pending, or maybe doesn't even have comps. Those are the best appointments, but maybe doesn't even have comps, but I'm in a position that I can say, this one actually had 3 offers. This one didn't, but then it seems like, I mean, the agent couldn't tell me, but I asked her to cough if she got less than list price, and it seems like she coughed. So you kind of are able to make a story and put together a real analysis of what's going on. Next, number 5, for a lot of sellers, convenience may potentially be more important than money. So what I mean by that is most folks right now are pretty happy with what their home is worth, right? Equities rose about 23% in the last 12 months. Everybody's happy. And we're in East Cobb where, you know, the average sales price is $500,000. So we're talking $100,000 of equity in a year for doing nothing but living in their house, right? So most sellers are okay with the price. They don't have to be Bob and sell, or, you know, be the guy down the street and sell more than Bob. Most folks are fine with that. What they want though is convenience. They want easy. They don't want to they really would like to sell as is. Don't you love when they say, I want to sell as is? They want to be able to have time after closing. They want to not really have a lot of inspection stuff. They don't really want to deal with financing. You know, appraisal would be great if they could waive that because they already feel like the price is more than they want. So convenience, and that's where when you're sitting down with that seller, you've got to kind of say to them, tell me what's important. And that is bottom line. That's one of the things I just said. So what are we trying to accomplish here? What's the goal? Because they're going to tell you what it is. I just had an appointment and it was very, very simple. It's to get out of this house because they are divorcing. Very, very clear. I mean, there was no qualms about what the goal was. It wasn't about money. It was how fast can you get this sold and get the money in our pockets and get us away from each other, because they had to financially still live in the house together. So that's easy, right? Okay, here's the price that makes it go, right? Here's the price. So understanding what that is and asking that question, and don't be afraid of what the answer is, because whatever it is, you've got a strategy for it. If it's a quick sale, it may be an investor. If it's a fixer. If it's a quick sale, it could be that you're just pricing it a hair under market to get, you know, that it'll get it gone and you can kind of really dictate terms. If it's more time, you may have to kind of, you know, massage and set expectations. We may take 3 weeks to find the right buyer that's willing to let us wait till May to move, right? That's what it looks like. Or I may have to do some pre-marketing and let the world know this house exists for the next month and a half. So let's go ahead and sign our listing agreement and we'll work on, you know, kind of coming soon pre-marketing, right? But being very crystal clear that convenience for most folks, I mean, think about it. It's the reason we have Instacarts and Ubers and pick up groceries. All of those things exist. Netflix, all of that exists because we want convenience, right? The reason we don't go to the movies is because we can do on demand, right? You know, so that's the way to think about it. Is most folks have been programmed for this and they expect real estate to follow suit. Okay. Appraisals will be the wild card. So here's what I believe is going to happen. You're going to have a Vegas roulette wheel and you don't know where that ball's going to stop. And what I mean by that is, from an appraisal standpoint, it depends on the appraiser you get, right? We all know that. It is a completely shot in the dark. And you get some appraisers that still believe the market's good and they realize this is East Cobb and it's like values, even in the worst of the market 10 years ago, never really fluctuated more than about 10%, you know, whereas parts of the city saw 60, you know, that you'll have that appraiser. And then you get another appraiser that goes, values have stabilized or starting to decline, right? Because this house is selling for 5 and the one down the street sold for 520, so that's a declining market, obviously. So that's where you have to understand appraisal and appraisal gaps, I think are gonna be a bigger conversation. I think to make your offer seem very strong, you've got to say to a buyer or a seller rather, as a buyer, hey, I'm willing to bring, because I've got 100,000 down and the new loan limit 650. I can put 100,000 down and make my loan work. And that's also where, in my opinion, having a very good relationship with whoever your lender is, right? So if it's Reed, if it's Camilo, Jeff, who else is in here? Is that all? Kendra? Is that okay? I hope that's everybody. Those guys, if those are your people, you have a relationship with them that you can call them and go, look, we're making an offer on a house, it's 500, the comp's running 520, we're worried the appraiser could say declining market. Could they bring, 20,000 or whatever that could look like? Could we do a $15,000 or $20,000 appraisal gap? They gotta have this house. It's a pretty house, right? Or could we bid 520 to get it and waive appraisal for the 20? So that's where really understanding what is your client's buying, borrowing power. What does that look like? And really having a conversation with the lender, and making sure they're using your preferred lender, or at least, shouldn't say making sure, using, or at least having a conversation with your preferred lender to verify that they are in fact able to get that mortgage and getting that at bat, because we've had situations where we didn't follow what we were supposed to. And, we had a buyer that basically didn't qualify. And when we got them to our lender, and it was a very good lesson learned for one of my very smart buyer's agents, and she learned the hard way, and she had shown that lady a lot of houses, and she was so mad at herself because she wasn't doing what she knew she was supposed to do. I can assure you that does not happen moving forward. She does not even think about it. Okay, so just understand appraisal waivers, declining market box, if they start checking those things, and maybe ask for, if you are the buyer, or talk to your preferred lender and say, are you starting to see that declining market box getting checked on the appraisal? Or asking your client, hey, would you mind forward me the appraisal? I'm just doing some research. I want to understand what's happening in the market for my next client. Congrats on appraising, right? Because if you start seeing that or stabilizing as being checked, that tells you appraisers are starting to lean towards out of that seller's market into either a balanced or even a buyer's market, right? Okay, and it could be very different from East Cobb to Powder Springs, or even historic Marietta to East Cobb, right? Okay. Number 7, buyer consultations will become critical in finding homes and being efficient and effective as an agent. So I don't know how long y'all been in the business. I know Liz has been in the business as long as I have. We're old goats at this. And we remember days where you would have a stack of homes on a Saturday. You would show one buyer 15 to 20 homes. And there would be, you would almost play a game, right? Where here's the stack of homes. If at any point we're driving through the neighborhood, we're pulling into the driveway, we're walking in the foyer, we go out to the backyard, you determine this is not the right house, we stop the showing right then, because it was about efficiency, right? What we've got to figure out is, because now the homes aren't necessarily hitting the market because of that convenience factor, and because a lot of agents, that they know of stuff, but it's 3-4 months out. We've got to get very effective in finding inventory for our clients, because our job is, like right now I'm looking for a second home. The agent that I have enjoyed working with the most is the guy that brought me the houses that I can't find on my own, right? And he is, in my opinion, a freaking rock star. And he has brought me inventory. And that's like, I look at this experience and I'm like, even though a lot of the houses, don't get me wrong, he's sending me stuff that's like almost double my budget. And I ain't mad at him, because at least he's bringing me stuff. So keep and it's been a very good lesson learned for my team, is ask the question, right? The 3-car garage isn't enough. They want 4. I'm still going to throw it out there because it's 99% of everything else you want, right? So what has he got to lose? Because for all he knows, I'm sitting on a pile of money, which I am not. But, he doesn't know that I might go, you know what, I love that place. I'll take it. Let's go, right? Because I bet you it's happened to him before. So understanding when you're doing that buyer consultation that you're really doing like a doctor's exam, right? Like I am asking you every question because the reason your knee might hurt is because your hip's out of whack, or because you hunch over, or because, you know, any number of things, you're wearing a certain shoe. So I'm asking all these questions. Tell me when you say East Cobb, what does that mean? Because I've had people say I live in East Cobb, and by my definition, that ain't necessarily East Cobb, but I'm gonna let them live it. That's fine. I don't have to, rain on their parade. So understanding, what does it mean when they say a big backyard? What does it mean when they say we need, we want to do no maintenance yard? Does that mean they don't want a yard, or they just don't want to have to cut it every week? What does that look like? Or does the HOA take care, right? You go, there's all these ways we can make this work. So really, really getting crystal clear with the buyer and really having a needs list and a wants list. Right? Do we understand when I say that? A needs list is, I have to have this. I have to be in Pope High School. I have to have 4 bedrooms, 2 baths. I have to have a fence back, right? I have to have these things. A wants list is, I would love to have, a bonus room for me to work at it, right? Like there's things like that. Or I'd love to have a pool. I don't have to. And what are those things that are necessary that cannot be changed? Like I can't change the school district, but I can add a fence. I can add hardwoods. So understanding what that looks like too, and asking them. So let me ask you, Mr. Bauer, you say you've got to have hardwoods in this house, but would you be willing to put them in if everything else hits? Well, that becomes a want. And really trying to get that needs list down to just the bare minimum, right? Okay, so, but being efficient and effective, the reason I say that is we've all worked with those buyers and sellers that did everything we asked them to, right? They were just soldiers. They're like, whatever we needed, they had their docs into the lender. They were ready to write the check for Earnestman. They were ready. They made the offers. Everything was great, right? They opened the documents right when you wanted them to. Sellers did all the staging stuff plus a little bit more. They left the house for the weekend. I mean, just you've had those clients. And then you have the ones that weren't those people. This is going to become a game of finding these folks, because these folks we don't necessarily have to work with. And that's having a business versus having a buyer and a seller, right? And understanding you may fire some clients this year. And again, that goes back to my bonus of lead generation. We have to lead generate, because if you're working with these people, you may not want to be in business this time next year because you're going to be exhausted. Like many of us were at the end of last year or the end of 2020. A lot of people are just exhausted because they were working with these folks. They were working with who showed up to the party as opposed to who they wanted to invite to the party. That's all it is. Who are you inviting to your party and who are you just letting come in the door? The club everybody wants to go to is the one with the bouncer that has the list, right? Be that club, okay? Number 8, the market will cool off mid to end of October through the end of the year. So what this really is around the elections. So if you don't follow politics, you may not know this, but this is a midterm election year. And what I know, having done this 20 years, is most midterms and most general election years, the market cools off mid to late October and kind of goes that way through the end of the year. The other overriding thing is the rates. It has been very crystal clear from Janet Yellen, who is the Treasury Secretary, that rates will go up. And we expect one in March, probably another one in July. And it won't shock me if one side of the table, I won't go into politics, but if one side of the table believes they're going to lose, the rates would also go up again in October, just to kind of get that over with. So you could see 3 rate increases. And I'm not talking like half points, all of that, but if it was just a quarter or an 1/8, we're talking as much as 0.75%. And understand it, $500,000 with a borrower putting about even 10% down, that could mean $300 more a month in payment. And we know 500,000 can be a difficult price point for folks in this area to find something, right? So if now they got to spend another $300 a month where they don't qualify, they become a 465 buyer, it really changes the conversation. So really understanding, and again, that's where having a good lender partner that you can have those conversations with the buyer to say, hey guys, we expect in March rates to go up. I think you ought to start looking now, and we could close now, get it done, make it happen. And we can give the seller possession with a lease back at your mortgage payment till May. right? Like, there's a lot of sellers that could be a win for them. So that's something to pay attention to, but just understand, mid to late October, May, so you've got to do a lot of your business by the 1st of October if you've got goals, right? Like for our team, we want to be by the end of June, 65% of our goal for the year. That's our goal. So that's what we're working towards when we're doing our numbers, okay? So just understand the market could cool off. It has done it pretty much every year that there's been an election, okay? Number 9, and I know Sherry will love this one. Earnest money matters more than ever, and time of receiving earnest money will need to be paid attention to. So I've had a couple of scenarios in the last really 3 months that we could never get confirmation of earnest money. And they were writing offers with 1 day or 2 days. And we'd be like, hey, where's the earnest money? Where's the earnest money? Where's the earnest money? And they didn't provide it. And we even had one of our buyers who were not fired, who would not, they did a 7-day due diligence, and we did a 5-day earnest money, and we could never get the earnest money out of it. And then they were like, we don't want to move forward with the contract on day 10. And we notified them on day 7 that or 5 that the earnest money was gone, but it was not the way we like to do business, right? So understand when that earnest, so that's the conversation I don't want anybody to have, is that your seller goes, well, they walked, okay, and they put 0 due diligence, or they did right to terminate, but they never put the earnest money up. And that's where I don't want you either to be on the hook for the earnest money, or have to call a seller and go, yeah, that $5,000 earnest money that I thought you would get, you don't get because they didn't turn it in. I didn't know they didn't turn it in, right? So that's where you really, I mean, honestly, if I'm making an offer, be very, very strong. I'm sending a copy of the check or the wire, or are we allowed to go ahead and put earnest money on hold with the office without a contract? Go ahead and do that as part of your buyer cons, because that, look at that. That's a buyer that I want at my party, right? That's the kind of buyer that's like, oh yeah, here's my $5,000 or whatever my earnest money is. I've already got it. I'll go ahead and wire it. And you maybe have that conversation, because that's going to tell you who's serious. If I've got 4 buyers that I'm interviewing to see who I want to work with, and I only really have the bandwidth for 3, and 3 of them say I'll put the earnest money up and the other one doesn't, they may get referred out, right? So same thing with if I get an offer that shows 0 due diligence with the right to request repairs, and the agent says, I've already got the earnest money, it's sitting on hold. We got it when we did our buyer consult. Think how much more powerful your offer comes across in that instance, right? I mean, you look like, okay, this chick's got her stuff together. At least for me, it worked. So pay attention to earnest money, verify, especially if you aren't using the closing company or don't have a closing coordinator. Really, really pay attention to that stuff, like immediately. Like you go binding at 10 o'clock that night, 10 o'clock the next morning, hey, where's the earnest money? Just my sellers, and blame it on the seller, because that's who really ultimately wants it. Or if it's your buyer, the minute you know you're going to be binding it, when you start sending docs over, go, here's the, what is it, Earnest app? Yeah. You can tell I use it all the time. The Earnest app, here's the link to it, go, right? Here it is, let's go ahead and get this set up, let's make stuff happen. It's very easy from what I understand. So things like that will matter, because like I say, you don't want to be that person on day 7 that goes, yeah, the buyer flaked, just walked away. I mean, we had it on a piece of land, and I was stunned because the agent, we negotiated everything out, the inspection amendment, we were good on the survey, and she was like, yeah, my buyer changed his mind. And we had asked for it, we've been asking for it, and we just didn't realize she never sent it to us. It was, so now we have a very foolproof system that we will have it. But it was, you know, and our seller, you know, he was fine, but it was not a fun conversation, let's put it that way. So it happens to everybody, but don't let it happen to you. That's where I'm coming from, is that place. So those are my 9 real estate predictions. Questions, comments, cuss words?
I have a quick question.
Yes,
So you're
yes,
saying
Lizzie.
I can take a check for 5K and leave it in the office and then eventually say this is going to go, okay.
Or go ahead and have it deposited is what
Right,
I would
right,
do.
right.
Yeah, yeah, I thought you meant
No,
just
it's
hold
only
it.
on hold. Cannot be deposited.
Oh, well, that's not
But
fun.
we
Okay.
can hold the physical check
Okay.
in the office.
Then we have a
Okay,
copy
well,
of
that
it,
works.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was
cannot-
wanting you to more or less have the money in your account
yeah,
ready
we
to go.
cannot do that.
Okay. Yeah. So
Right,
yes,
but
okay.
and then I deposit it to a I still can't apply that to the next property. We're still gonna have to go through the termination, get the check back and resubmit though.
Yeah.
Once you then tie it to one property, and God forbid you have to terminate.
Until
that
it's
property,
released, you can't move it
correct?
to
You
another. one.
understand what I'm asking or no?
Okay, so
Right.
if you struck us a $5,000 check and it's attached to 123 Lucky Street,
but you terminate 1, 2, 3 Lucky Street before we physically put it in the bank, yes, we can use that same physical check for the next property.
Already in the
As
bank.
long
I
as
got
you don't write the address in the memo section.
Mm.
Now, if it 1, 2, 3 Lucky Street actually gets put into the bank, then yes, we have to physically cut it out and a new check has to be provided.
To do what Courtney's saying to do
Yeah.
is you need to keep the check to send it with your offer. It
Mm-hmm.
should be it should,
No, I
that should be the first thing that you send or the second thing that you send. That's what you send the pre-approval, proof of funds or in a copy.
Yeah, I'd rather see the ARPA money than a pre-approval, honestly. Just tell me who the lender is. I don't need a written pre-approval letter. I love when agents ask for that and I'm like, I just need the name of the lender. Here he is. Like, I don't need a pre-approval. But I get a lot of people, they feel like that actually means something. And we all know a pre-approval letter really isn't worth the paper it's written on. And there's so many hoops that have to be, gone through. Because I could probably get a pre-approval letter for a couple $1 million. Do I think the bank will give me that? Absolutely not. Not in good conscience. So anyway, but that's what I'm saying is we know a pre-approval letter. I mean, there's plenty of people who have been pre-approved or pre-qualified that couldn't get the loan, right? So that's where you're, again, through that consultation with the seller and the buyer, you're really explaining, here's what these things mean, and here's what we're gonna work towards, and this is our framework, and then I gotta fill in the puzzle, right? Other questions? Yes,
Are your buyer consultations happening face to face?
they are. Most of them are face-to-face, because in this environment, we understand, but yes, they are for the most part in person, yes. Because I think we get more out of it. Now, we do have a lot of clients that are out of state that will do a Zoom face-to-face. And that's so where we can really see stuff, because a phone call, you cannot catch the same stuff that you can catch in person with the facial expressions, right? So, yeah. What else? Nothing from the online. I get all you people are just laying in bed this morning. Look how many don't have their cameras on. They're all laying in bed just because I was up till 12:30 watching that game too. I get it. So I appreciate the top row with the cameras on, Dennis O'Reilly and Camilo. I see y'all. All right, I'm done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys, we are done. This is a wrap for today unless somebody has any other questions.
Nope.
All right. No, okay. Go do real estate today. Thanks, guys. Bye.